Hello, and welcome to the tutorial for PhotoMath, the Smart Camera Calculator. This application is a wonderful tool for students of all ages who are attempting to learn math, and they are seeking some sort of verification process as they are learning new methods, trying to ensure that what they're doing is correct. This application will help provide them the instant feedback they need in order to build off those concepts and allow them to really develop them deeply. Let's go ahead and jump right in and see what this application has for us. You'll notice when you first open the application that we're going to be confronted with this screen here. Now, this screen is going to be guiding you through a little bit of a help tutorial of sorts. And it's something that has a lot of great information. So it'll guide us through a majority of the things, and I'll help talk through how those work in the application. You'll notice that there is a little X at the top if you want to close out of this and explore this app on your own, but I recommend you just go ahead and stick with this because it's not going to take us too long. Now, looking at this first page of the app, we're going to really see the essence of what it does. So it mentions this capture, and essentially the core of this is going to be using the camera function on your iPad in order to look at some sort of mathematical equation or problem in order for this essentially smart computer to recognize the problem and work it through it in order to give you an answer. If you scroll down, you'll notice we'll get to the next part of this little tutorial, which is just talking about how once you are able to center the box that appears on screen using your iPad camera around the mathematical expression or equation, an answer is going to pop up directly beneath that on the screen itself, giving you that instantaneous feedback to see if you were able to work your way to the right answer. Scrolling down again, we'll see that we have the option to adjust the window that will be once again appearing on this screen as we use our iPad camera to focus over the problem we have in question. So this will allow us to kind of manipulate that box and make sure that we're not getting any unnecessary information or confusing information for that system. So that's what this is going to do for us. And last, we have these navigation buttons. You'll notice that these navigation buttons are just the four primary buttons that you'll be using for the app. The history button, the light button, the steps button, and the help button. All of these will be explored in detail when we reach them in our own application, but just to know, those are really the only four buttons or features that you need to worry about with this application. And last but not least, we have the tagline at the bottom, just giving us as the consumer the assurance that there are experts working on refining and developing and just reaching out further with this application in order to extend its range and utility. And so that's a great sign. They're actually working right now as well to make it begin to recognize handwritten pieces that you may have. So if you handwrite out a problem, then it'll be able to recognize and help you solve that one as well. So that's a fantastic thing. But there's always more stuff being added to this app to help refine the engine that it works with. Now we can go ahead and actually click this X in the top right, and we'll close out of this and see what we have in the app itself. Now that we've closed out of that help window, you'll notice here we have basically the main screen. Now I'm looking at a wooden table late at night, so you're not going to see much on the screen, but really this is just what my camera's seeing. And so this will just be kind of what the app is. You'll see the little buttons on the top and the bottom, but really it's just giving you a picture of what's in your camera. And the center of the screen here, this is where everything important happens. This centerpiece here is this box that we saw in that help example that's going to be the place where we're going to need to focus any kind of mathematical equation that we want this system to help us with. You'll notice here that I went ahead and actually used this application on a problem that I pulled up on my phone. So that's actually something that's really cool, is that the app can even recognize from mobile device to mobile device as long as you hold the camera up correctly. And you'll notice I've just pulled up a basic algebra problem here, 2x minus 3 equaling 12. And as we can see on the screen, not only do we have that focus bar around that problem, but in the white text above, that little bar is telling us what the system recognizes the problem as, so just make sure that those align. And then you'll notice in the bottom we have, beneath that red box, we have the solution that it found, that x was equal to 15 halves. Another thing to notice here is this steps button all the way near the bottom of our screen, which is going to allow us the option to click on that or on that solution, x equals 15 halves, in order to explore and see how we were able to solve that problem. And this is where the key of the educational tool comes in. So let's go ahead and select that. Moving into that Steps button, you'll notice that what the system does is, after recognizing the problem, it actually gives a step-by-step solution from the first line that's listing this problem, and then goes step by step until it gets to the answer, really helping to ensure that students are able to follow along and see what's going from the problem to the solution. So if there's something that's tripping them up, they can see those steps one by one and help identify where they're having difficulty. This is a really cool feature. Now if we go back to the main screen here, which I've done for you, you'll notice the little sparkles inside of that box are just what happens if you're not using the system for too long, if you're curious, so don't worry about that. But you'll notice down here, let's say that we've gone back to the main screen, but we wanted to go back and look at those steps again. I've put my phone away. I wanted to see what was that problem I was working on earlier. Well, by clicking that second button in, it will actually take us back to that steps window that we were at the page before this. And so that's something that's really helpful, just being able to go back and look back over something that you'd scanned in earlier. On top of this, here is the History button, which is just to the left of the Steps button. And the History button has an additional feature of being able to not only go in and see the problems that we had just previously done a step before, but it'll actually let us see all the problems that we've scanned into the system, which is incredibly useful. So let's go ahead and select that. You'll notice when jumping in, we actually will see all of the problems that we've recently scanned, and by selecting them if we'd like to, you'll notice the arrows on the right tell us that it'll actually expand into showing the step-by-step solution of those problems. In fact, you'll notice some on here, like -3 equals 12. If you try to enter something like that into the system, it will actually tell you whether that's a true or a false statement. So that's just another cool thing. And you can see all of those recently scanned in random problems or just things that the system's recognize. So that's super cool. Going back to the main screen again, you'll notice that there's still a couple other places we haven't explored. And in fact, the one in the bottom right here is this Contact and Uploads tab, and this one may be actually the most helpful. So let's select that one now. You'll notice when we've selected the Feedback tab, we have the option to not only leave an image, but also a comment describing some sort of feedback that we can send to the developers. And the nice thing about this is if you ever encounter a problem in which the solution isn't clear or the system can't seem to solve it for you, you can send that into them and they can make sure to either send you a solution or to help work it into the framework of the upcoming patches and stuff in order to develop that kind of mathematical reasoning that may be needed to solve that kind of problem that you're confronted with. Obviously there's some limitations and it's building slowly and surely, but any feedback will help with that process. And back to the main screen again, we'll have some more options. The last and final piece will actually happen here in the top right, and we'll show you in just a second. This space up in the top right is important, but really only because what it's going to do is take us back to that very starting step-by-step tutorial that we encountered when we first opened the application. It's really nice in case you're forgetting one of those features or how exactly to expand or contract that box in the center. Most of it's pretty intuitive, but if you ever needed to go back there, it's there for you. And that's our tutorial of PhotoMath. It's an extremely easy to use, helpful, and just really innovative math application that can really assist students in their learning process, giving them the feedback they need to develop the correct learning methods and skills and correct mathematical reasoning, but also allowing them to not become overwhelmed by showing them how they can get from one step to the end. So it's a really great application, and if you're looking for something to help double check your math skills or to pick up for someone that you know that may be going through a difficult time in their mathematical studies, this is a great application to really assist them in their journey.